For this lesson, we're doing Module 6, Lesson 4. We're going to start with the first question, which says fill in the blanks. So for the first one, we have 1/10, and we're trying to figure out how many hundredths we have. So I'm going to start by doing is just writing 1/10, my equal sign, my line, and then I know this is going to be hundredths over here. When I think about hundredths, I know I'm going to have, obviously, a denominator of 100. So I have 1/10, and I'm trying to turn it into a denominator of hundreds. We've learned earlier this year that we always need common denominators. So the question really is, can I turn a denominator of 10 with multiplication into a denominator of 100? I can. If I multiply the bottom by 10, 10 times 10 gets me to 100. Whatever I do the bottom, I must do the top. So 1 times 10 is 10. So 1/10 is 10 hundredths. Now, I have written it as a fraction below. We can just fill it in with the words. So again, 1/10 is equal to 10 hundredths. For the next one, we have 1/10 of a meter equals how many hundredths of a meter? Well, we really just did that, again, using multiplication. If I want to think about it as 10 times 10 equals 100, whatever I do the bottom, must do the top, so 1 times 10 is 10. So 1/10 of a meter is equal to 10 hundredths of a meter. For the next one, we have 2/10 of a meter, and it's been turned into, we know our numerator is 20. Okay, so 2 times what gets me to 20? The answer is 10. If I multiply the top by 10, I also need to multiply the bottom by 10. So 10 times 10 is 100. So 2/10 of a meter equals 20 hundredths of a meter. For the next one, I'm given a number line, and I'm going to have to find this as a fraction. So it could be a fraction or a mixed number and a decimal. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at what I have. So I have a tape diagram that's been drawn. And if I look at my tape diagram, if I count the pieces, I'll see that's been split into 10 pieces. So each of these boxes, like the one I just outlined here, is 1 out of 10. So this would be 1/10, and this would be 1/10. I'm going to draw my bracket ball like we have this year. This is 1/10. Now, what's interesting about the next box is they have now split these tenths into tenths again. So if I have 1/10, and I split it into 10 more pieces, which really means I'm multiplying by 10. How many pieces do I end up with now? 10 times 10 is 100. I'm obviously just going to fill in the top part. So each of these pieces is 1/100th. If I count my picture, I will see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4, and again, what is my denominator? I've taken 10 pieces, and I've cut it in tenths again. So 10 times 10 is really what I'm doing. So it's a denominator of 100. And again, the units are all meters. Now, in order to find my fraction, I'm going to take all these parts and add them up. Now, I didn't write equal sign below, so now I will actually have to. So 1/10 of a meter plus 1/10 of a meter plus 4 100ths of a meter equals. Now, some people would tell you that you could just add right now because you know what to turn 1/10 of a meter into. But in order, we've always talked about you have to have a common denominator, so we are going to stay with that idea. So we just learned in our last one that 1/10 is also equal to 10 hundredths, and that's also written on top where I put a star. So instead of writing 1/10, because I want a common denominator, I'm going to write 10 hundredths of a meter plus, again, 10 hundredths of a meter plus, and I'm going to leave this 4 hundredths alone because it's already written meters. So now I have 100, 100, 100 across the bottom, so my denominator is going to be 100. My units are meters, and now I just need to add my numerators. 10 plus 10 is 20, 20 plus 4 is 24. So the answer for this is 24 hundredths. Now, I also need to write that as a decimal, which I'm going to do. So I can think about it as a place value chart, or I could just think about what it would be. So 24 hundredths. I have 0, 1, and I have 24 over here. Now, that may be a little confusing how I got to 24, so I will show it on a place value chart. So I have ones, and we've worked on this a little bit in class already with some of our morning work. Tenths, hundredths. So how many ones do I have? I have 0, and I'm really looking at this number right here, 24 hundredths. How many tenths do I have? Well, right now, we're going to leave that blank. And we're going to come over and put our 24 and our hundredths. Now, we know that the maximum we can have in a column for a place value chart is 9. Anything that is greater than 9, we have to take that group of 10 and shift it over. So I have a 2 in the tens place here, so I got to move that all the way over. So this 2 comes over here, so I've used this. I haven't lost it, I've just moved it over. like when we moved over disk earlier this year. So now we look what we have left, 0 in the ones, write my decimal, 2 in the tens place, and 4 in the hundreds. So I do get 0.24. This place value chart is another way we could do it. And now to take it apart with the number bond, just to prove it, 0.24, because the question does ask us on our problem set to use a number bond. So how many tenths do you have? Again, this is the tenths place. I have 2 tenths. I think it's much easier if we find the decimal first and then break it apart with the number bond. Over here, this is your hundredths. How many hundredths do I have? I have 4 hundredths. You could also look at your place value chart if you want. Hundredths place, you have 4, and the tenths place, you have 2. Both of these would work, and you can use either way to solve. For the next one, we have 19 hundredths. So what we're going to do first this time is, to try to save ourselves some work, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to actually do the place value chart first. So very quickly, ones, tenths, and our hundredths. So, and the number we're talking about is 19 hundredths of a meter. So if I look, do I have any ones in this? I don't. I have a 0. Keep my decimal point. Right now we're going to leave our tenths place blank, and we're going to come over to our hundredths and write our 19, because that's what we're given in the question. Now I look, I have 19. I know the maximum I can have in a place value is 9. Anything that's greater than that needs to get moved over. So this one needs to come over here. I can cross that out because I've used it. I haven't lost it, I've just shifted it over. So now I have 0 point, and I just look at what I have. I have 1 in the tenth and 9 in the hundredths. So this number, also written as a decimal, is 0.19. All I've done is copy down what I have in my place value chart. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our number bond now. So I just have to pull apart what I have. I can actually use my place value chart to help me. If I look, I have 1 in the tenths place. How do I write 1/10? 1 over 10, pretty simple. And I look, I have how many hundredths? I have 9 hundredths. 9 hundredths, my denominator is 100. Pretty simple so far. So now I've taken it apart with the number bond. Now, we do have to go back to our tape diagram and do our shading. Again, it's been cut into 10 pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the biggest place value first, which is tenths. So I'm going to look at this 1/10, and I'm going to shade one whole box because that's 1 out of 10. So I've shaded that now. So it's clear that I have it, okay, and I've stayed in the box. For the next one, I have 9 hundredths. Now, remember, if we do 9 hundredths, we're splitting our tenths into tenths again. Remember, this piece is 1 out of 10. So to get hundredths, I have to split it again. So I'm going to have to split this box in 10 pieces. I'm going to do my best. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, I realize it's not the easiest to read. That's why we always do our place value chart and we use a number bond to see. Now I need to shade 9. I understand that this is difficult. So I would shade. Notice I left the one piece out. And this would be 9 hundredths. So I've proven it using my tape diagram, I've proven it using a number bond, and a place value chart. At some point in this year, you're going to be able to use whatever method works best for you. We're just giving you as many strategies as you need. Now, for the next one, we have 94 hundredths. Again, notice I don't have a tape diagram this time, which is nice, which is going to make it a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my place value chart. Ones, my decimal point, tenths, and hundredths. How many ones do I have in this number? The answer is 0. Decimal point. How many tenths? We're going to leave it alone for right now because we're looking, what we have is 94 hundredths. So in the hundredths place, I'm going to put 94. Again, I take a look and I see that I have a number that is greater than 9. I have 94 actually. So anything in this place value needs to get shifted over to the tenths place. So I'm going to take that 9 and move it over. If we were drawing disk, it would be similar to how we moved disk in the beginning of the year. Take this 9, cross it out. I've used it. Again, I haven't lost 9. I've just moved it over to the tenths place because that's really where it belongs. Now I just write what I have. 0 point. I have 9 in the tenths place, 4 in the hundredths place. So 94 hundredths can be written as 0.94. Now if we take it apart using a number bond, We just go back to our place value chart. It's pretty simple. Yes, we could know that this is the tens place and just look and see 9. Or we could come back over here and look where we have tenths and just look. What number did we write there? We wrote a 9. How do I write 9 tenths? 9 over 10. And this is the hundredths place. We know this. So this is the hundredths place. How do we write this? Well, there's a 4 in the hundredths place, so it's 4 over 100. The big thing that I would suggest when you're working on this is to always be thinking back to place value. I know we have to write the chart every time, but it is very helpful early on to remember to use it.